Welcome. This is the last class in the series of Healthy Backs, Happy Backs. So we're on week 6 now. So hoping that your backs are finding it interesting or finding new ways to kind of find some comfort or ease or greater movement in the back. So today we're going to focus even more on twists. And part of the reason we're doing that is this issue that's really common of our backs getting really kind of locked in. And it tends to be below the shoulder blades to probably actually more to the waist, but it can be all the way down. So that area is kind of not felt, it's not moved, it can't move very easily. So we're just trying to find ways, and the twisting is quite a good way to just kind of loosen up around this central area. So it's not going to be everybody, but the vast majority of people have this area really quite rigid, quite locked, quite tight. So we're just trying to work, and those sorts of twisting movements just help us at least be more aware of that area. And if ideally we're starting to loosen up, if we're a little bit tighter in that area, which just means the whole body feels in greater ease. And then that's partly what we're trying to do with our movement generally, and our running specifically, is just to have a more easeful movement. Okay. So just to start with, we're just going to find a happy place for our feet. So you choose what that happy place is. We generally just find ourselves there and just have a sense of a little bit of knee bend, so that you can just soften into the ground for a moment, and then just feeling the belly area and the pelvic area, and seeing whether you can have a sense of that feeling like it's center of gravity, so that it's not tipping forward, it's not tipping back. Then with the rib cage, again, that back's balanced above the pelvis, and we're not dipping down, we're not sticking out with the rib cage, we're finding that midpoint. Hardest one for me is then the skull sitting on top. Yeah, most of us tend to bring our head forward, very common, which rounds the back and closes the diaphragm. Not everybody, but it's quite common. So just finding that place, and it might be further back than you expect. Okay, and again, so there's also a bit of softening to do with the head. I find that I can kind of reach up, and then I sort of realise all I'm doing is really locking myself in a different position. So I need to kind of feel like I'm softening in front of the base of the jaw, top of the throat, the neck. I can just kind of soften there once I've got a little bit of an extension feeling, so that I'm not over locking things in there. And maybe even just nodding the head. That's going to get to the area between the top of the spine, and it's linked with the skull. We're just kind of, okay, I know where you are, and I'm just going to loosen. Okay, and then just again reconnecting with the center of gravity for the head, the rib cage, and the pelvis. Let the arms just be free, they can come wherever they come on the body. And then we're just going to rock forward and back. So we're not doing, as we did last week, going in circles, just rocking forward and back and seeing what that feels like to connect to the ground through the feet in a different way. Yeah, taking the weight forward, taking the weight back. So it's this sense of gravity, our different relationship, gravity. We're kind of having a controlled fall as we come forward, and then we're just reinstating ourselves back and maybe slightly beyond our midpoint. But we're still trying to keep the pelvis, the rib cage, and the skull in line, rather than bring the chin in or bring the shoulders forward. Just trying to maintain this same link between those three areas of the body. just bringing a little bit of lightness to the breath. So it might be a little bit letting go at some stages, maybe when you go back, maybe when you come forward. So you can do that with the mouth open, you can do it with blowing through the lips. It's like a tree blowing in the wind. You can look out at the moment, a tree is blowing in the wind. They're not necessarily blowing forward, but they're really blowing side to side, having a shake out. Okay, and just finding a new medium, your new middle point. Relax the shoulders and the jaw. Okay. So hands onto the hips, to the pelvis, sorry, area, the bony bit. And just doing your circular movements from here. Yeah. So we were doing circular movements last week, so we were concentrating doing that more on a rock basis, where here we can have the knees be a little bit more bent as we take the journey round, as we focus just on the centre of the body. So feeling the hands against the clothing, feeling the skin move underneath and the bones move a little bit around the pelvis. Just notice where it feels that you know that you're moving, you're getting some space and some change going on in the centre. Still keeping that connection between the pelvis and rib cage and the crown of the head if you can. And the opposite direction. Enjoying that movement like we're floating over the feet with pelvis. A bit rocking side to side. Notice how it feels in the mid-back. Is the movement in the mid-back? Can you feel the mid-back? Okay, and into centre. The fingers are shake, the wrists are shake, the arms are shake, shoulders are shake. Release the breath. And let the arms be heavy for a moment. Okay. So we're going to go, I'm going to move myself further forward. We're going to go into ultimately a twist, but I want to start the twist off from the pelvis. So if we just take the hands back to the pelvis and just go side to side. Sometimes I'm not sure the best position for my feet here. I usually want to head broadly to shoulder distance, but sometimes that feels too wide. Relax the shoulders if you can in this position. Okay, and relax the hands and then just let the arms go because you're moving the pelvis. So the shoulders are going to join in, but think about I'm just moving from the pelvis, I'm just moving from the pelvis, I'm just moving from the pelvis, and everything else just happens to be happening. Now we've got the arms loose. So I've got a sense of connection between the pelvis, the rib cage, and the skull without overreaching, but that sense of length through the spine. We're not collapsing really, that's what we're trying to avoid, the collapse. And for most of us that means we have to focus a little bit more on this idea of lengthening. Keep the attention in the pelvis, I find it hard, and move attention to the shoulders. So keep going back, okay, feeling the pelvis go from side to side, side to side, side to side. Okay, so we're going to go into this more active movement now where we take bend the elbows and make a bit more connection between the front of the abdomen, side of the belly, side of the rib cage, mid-back. And hopefully we get some movement in that mid-back, not just it going around rib cage and there'll be no movement in the mid-back. So hopefully we're getting there and we're making contact with the kidney area or slightly above. Okay, so we're going to extend this a little bit further. So what we're going to do is we're going to create soft fists at the moment and touch kind of the upper chest, upper collarbone kind of area. So I'm going to go there, there, there. Okay. So there's a bit of a resonance through the chest as we kind of open up, enliven, waken up that space at the base of the shoulders. So again, for quite a lot of us, it's common practice and common in running for the shoulders to come forward. We don't want the shoulders permanently locked anywhere. We want them to come forward, to go back, and to find a place where they can relax and release. But what tends to happen is we tend to bring shoulders forward, around the back, close the chest off, close the diaphragm off, and squish the belly a little bit as well. So it's just reminding us about this openness here. Can you still feel the movement in the pelvis as it all kind of gone up to the shoulders? Okay, one more if you've got long arms, like I have. Tapping yourself on the shoulder, on the back. So if you can't get there, you go back, stay with the previous one. So I've got a soft hand now rather than a fist. Patting myself on the back. I've got very long arms, unfortunately. Okay, so we really get a lot of twisting going on today. So from here, we can go back, From here, we can go back. Okay, and soften, stage, soften, stage, soften, stage, back to the movement. Pelvis, set the arms softly, move around the body. Right back in center. So just get that sense of energy in the center of the body. I feel like you've tapped yourself slightly. The points in which you give it a little bit more pressure. So the backs of the shoulders, tops of the front of the shoulder, collarbone kind of area, front body, and then this area that you were touching when you did the more active connection. How does that feel? So we're enlivening that center body. We're releasing the shoulders if we can. Just see how that feels. We've got the heart rate going up a little bit there as well. Okay. So we'll bring in the legs into action a little bit now. So the legs were just kind of coming along for the ride. So we're going to sweep the arms up. And as we bring the arms down, we're going to bend the knees, bend at the hips to just take the fingertips to touch. And use the legs, push yourself back up rather than dragging yourself back up. So once you've done 2 or 3, so you don't have to touch the floor. If it feels kind of like that, you're just kind of stretching and going beyond what makes sense. Then you do touch the floor. Just get close-ish. So an option is to start to bring in the breath if you haven't done already. In breath to come up. Out breath to go down. So you can round your back on the descent, let the corner of the head come down. and then lengthen through the body here. So sometimes I say soften top body over bottom body when we're doing sun salutations, and this is kind of what we're doing here. We're allowing the top body to soften when we're down. We're using the legs to get ourselves up. And we're looking to slightly lengthen the breath, in breath and out breath if we can, because the movement is slow. And because the movement, taking the arms same distance, then the out breath and the in breath might be equal. We are using the breath. Don't worry if that kind of isn't there for you today, it doesn't matter. Just go for a rhythm and just go for a lengthening and allowing the top body to relax over the bottom body. So about 3 more on your own time with your own breath. And as you lengthen this time, just let the arms come by your side. And relax the arms. Okay, so you may have gathered how long breath was. So for me, the count there was probably about 5. Yeah, so you could play around with that if you wanted to go slower. You could try 6. You could hold at the top for a second or 2. Just pause the breath. Same at the bottom if you wanted to just pause the breath. Just gives a little bit more scope for deepening the breath there. Okay, so we'll do that now. We're going to go on to a little bit more with the side body. So we kind of worked on the side body of kind of loosening all the way around the torso, trying to get a little bit more into the mid-back, even though we're starting at the pelvis. Trying to get this relationship between the 3 areas that we commonly come back to in order for alignment and good posture, but supports us a bit in running. Okay, so side body strength and side body connection for me is really helpful. I feel stronger if I can actually have a sense of my outer body. So some things we're doing for, kind of feeling really, really aware that we're inside our body, not 3-dimensional body. And often it's the front we think about, occasionally we think of the back, but we often don't get this kind of side movement. That's this sense of the sides of the body in. And again, that's where we're going to allow space for the breath and the diaphragm to release. Okay. So we're going to sweep both arms up. And there we go. See, I've just come down on my knees to do this. You don't need to do that. So that I can just lengthen through my arms with my wrists, having a little bit of a open up here, which you may or you may not like. So if you don't like that, you can choose to do it the other way up. And let's see how it goes here. So we're lengthened here. And we're just going to take a side bend. So we're trying to just go to do it to the side. There's the real temptation for us to tend to want to do that. So just make sure that you're coming to the side rather than side and forward. Find your way back into center. And over to your opposite side. It'll be interesting what it feels like on the side body. So I have one side that really quite likes it and welcomes it, and I have another side that's saying, please don't go any further. I've got to really, have a sense. There's a real sense of stretch on my left side for me, particularly around the pelvis. So So once we've kind of got a little bit more aware, we're still lengthening through this whole process rather than, say, coming forward or collapsing. Next time we go over, might be your first side. Then just see if you can hold that for a little bit longer. And breathe into the side that's lengthening. That you can see from my body maybe that one side's lengthening and the other side is contracting slightly. So as you're looking at my body, it's going to be my right side as you're looking at it. Okay, and gently coming up and going over to the other side. And breathing here. So we are trying to take the breath a little bit deeper if it feels comfortable. We are trying to take the breath into the side ribs. We are having a sense of releasing the diaphragm. And it is a little bit awkward. Okay. So coming back up into extension. And then, interesting. The arms just relax. Give them a little bit of a shake out. Okay. So I'm going to come back to join you in standing. You may come down on your knees. Sometimes you just end up doing what I'm doing, but you didn't need to. But there's no problem doing it on your knees either. Okay, I think just a general shake out now. We did last week. Get the knees bent, hips bent, the whole body, have a shake out and release. Anyway, you can just mix up and loosen up. Okay. It's nice. Okay, so we're going to do chair pose, but we're going to add, surprise, surprise, a twist within that. So I can show you, and you can join me. So easy from the side, I think, to see. So either hip distance apart, or if you actually prefer closer together with the feet to feel a greater stability, then that's absolutely fine. Often chair pose is done with the legs together. It's not my personal preference, but some people like that sense of the legs kind of coming in, pulling up, and getting that core support through the centre of the body a little bit, that internal uplift. So you can always play around with that. So I'm keeping my feet slightly apart. And I'm going to use this position where I have one hand in the fist and the other one hand cupping it, so that I get a little bit of shoulder stability here. And then I'm going to just try and get this connection between my pelvis, my rib cage and my skull, so that I've got that alignment, so that I'm not sticking out my ribs already, which I don't want to. Either I'm tucking my tail under. So just trying to get that sense of slightly bent my knees. And then I'm sitting back. And the back ideally is in neutral here. So we'll do a few like that, and then what we'll do is we'll go into a twist. So you sit back and then you take the opposite elbow to the opposite thigh, still keeping that sort of link between the fist. Up, center, and try the opposite side. Okay. So you may have done that with me. You can see my shoulders went up there. So easy. This jump shows it a little bit more, probably. So if you haven't joined me, then you can join me now. So I'm with legs together, slightly apart. Putting the feet on the ground, so you're going to need to be using your legs in chair position. So getting the fist, just a loose fist, and a cupping the hand over there, over the fist. Just noticing what you're doing with the shoulders, just keep them down and back. And then bending at the knees to sit down, as if you're sitting down, but you're keeping that alignment between the pelvis, the rib cage, and the skull if you can. It's quite tricky here. And use the feet, use the legs to come back up. So we'll go down 3 times. That was 1. So bending the knees and sitting back doesn't have to be very far. And 3rd time. And back up. All the way up. Okay. So this time we're going to twist to one side, the other side. Then we'll come through back through the middle like we've just done. So just standing tall, connecting with the hands, letting the shoulders go back and down. Getting your alignment sorted when you're standing, and then bending the knees and taking one elbow to the opposite thigh. Go into that twist position. Come back, up, lengthen, up. 2nd side, opposite elbow to opposite thigh. Don't have to touch, but you're going in that direction. Use your legs to get yourself back up. Going down the centre this time. So just sitting back. Getting more freedom to sit back a little bit more, may not. And up. Swapping the fist position. Reconnecting with the shoulders, back and down. Length through the body, connection through the pelvis, the rib cage, and the skull. Over being rigid here. You want the support, you want some sense of strength here. And bending the knees and sitting back. And so the knees are going forward, yeah. So sometimes we do more of that version. So that it is a chair pose, so we are sitting back, but there is, the knees are able to go forward. Okay. So one more time. Let's do 2 here. Then we're going to go to do our twists. So just lengthen again. Breathe out. Go to your first side. Sit back. Elbow to opposite knee or thigh. Back up to centre. Lengthen. And to the side. 2nd side twist. And back up to lengthen. Back up to the centre. And again, just sitting down, sitting back. And lengthen. Go each side again. The first side. Back up to centre. 2nd side. Back up to centre. And sit back through the centre, so we just get back into our more aligned position. And relax the arms. And shake out again. And just giving a sense of how you feel. Shoulders, chest, rib cage, length through the side, connection with the pelvis. This time we've started to develop strength in the legs as well, hopefully, that the knees could cope with. So if that was difficult for the knees, then you do more of a sit back, and you do much less of a drop in the bottom, yeah, so it's a less of a bend. And if you can't get over to the side, then just go with that direction of travel, no strain. Just go to where you get to, you come back, and you might find that if you do it few repetitions, as long as the rest of the body is safe, that it will start to kind of work for you. We work within our range, and then if we go too far, we come back, and then we start to just work up. It's just those incremental movements towards something that ultimately get us there, rather than, okay, I can force myself in that position. It must be good for me if I can get there straight away. Yeah, just usually the body usually says no at some point. Okay. So we're going to go and do the movements that we're really familiar with, the kind of functional movements of the crawling forward. And we're just going to do one of them with a little bit more repetitions. So I'm going to change the positioning slightly, I think, here. Okay. I know you might not see the top of my head, but that doesn't matter, because most of the work's going down on the floor. So you remember from each week what we've been doing is we've been coming down, so effectively squatting down, taking one hand forward, then the other hand further forward, and then either coming back, one hand, the other hand back and up, or we've done coming up and opening up. We won't actually do that this week, we'll take a little bit of break from the twists. It's a nice one, I really like that one. We'll do more of the press up version. So usually that one I say lengthen a bit further, lengthen a little bit further. So what we're going to do to add slightly to that this week is we're going to take the right hand down, the left hand further forward, and then the right hand further forward again, and then we're doing the elbows out to the side to press yourself back up, to bring your hand back, and then to rock yourself back as we did before. Hopefully that makes sense. If for whatever reason it's too difficult to get down this week, then you do the movements literally like I've just been doing them. It's a way of just getting familiar. The body knows what it's doing here. It's getting the feeling of releasing down and pushing away. The actual movement is not dissimilar. It just means we're not actually having to go down into squat. So for me, I usually like the feet with the toes out, heels in, at least to start off with, to come down to a squat so that my knees are broadly going over the centre of my feet to stay as safe as they can. So let's come down with our right hand, maybe a little further forward, so there's a slight reach. So we're going to rock forward already to get to our left hand. Again, there's a slight reach forward. And then we're going to rock even further forward because we're going to take our hand to the next stage. So I'm still just down on my mat. So it's much longer positioning. And then I'm coming down. So for some people this might feel better than the previous version. So I'm going to take my right hand back to where it was before. And I'm going to press from my left hand to my right hand to get my heels down if I can. I'm sitting down again. I'm using my legs like we did in previous pose just to lengthen. Okay. See how things are, see if you feel safe in the back, whether that was good for you or not good for you. So you don't have to do it, you can do the version just leaning forward rather than going down. So we're going to go down with the left hand if you're going to do the floor version. So left hand maybe a little bit further than, a little bit more of a reach. Right hand even more of a reach. Left hand even more of a reach. I've got even further this time. So I'm taking my weight over towards, so the shoulders are broadly over each wrist, and then I'm doing my press up kind of version, pushing away. Take the front left hand back to where it was by using the right hand. Press again from the right hand to the left hand. From the left hand to get your heels down if you can. Bottom goes down. And lift up and lengthen up through the arms. And just release the arms again, see how things are. If you get the shake out, wiggle, wiggle. sigh, whatever, just loosen up. Okay, back to side 1 here. So we're going to take the right hand down, left hand again, a bit more of a reach, right hand, oh yeah, and even further forward, keep the knees bent, and from here with my right shoulder broadly above my right wrist, left shoulder broadly above my left. I'm just going down, coming back up, taking my right hand back by giving weight to my left hand, so I'm steady. Use the left hand again to get to the right hand push back to get the heels down if I can, bottom down, use my legs, lengthen up, and release. Okay, one more time, opposite side. So, left hand, reach, right hand, reach, left hand, reach, shoulders forward, and knees bent. And then elbows out, push yourself back up. Keep steady with your right hand to bring your left hand back. Push off with your right hand to your left hand allows you to sit back. Push off through the legs and extend up. And release the arms down. Just take one hand to the belly and one hand to the chest for a moment. And just feel the breath, feel the heart, feel the sensations in that center body. Relax the shoulders, the jaw, any areas of tension. See how you feel in the lower back. See how you feel in the mid back. See how you feel in the upper back. Take your attention to your right shoulder blade in that whole area. Left shoulder blade in that whole area. Relaxing, feeling more contact, more sensations in that area. Feeling the whole of the back of the rib cage now. Feeling the breath in the back of the rib cage, where the lungs are largely situated. So take a breath in. Pause the breath for a moment or two. Take a breath out. Take a breath in. Pause the breath. Take a breath out. One more time. Take a breath in. Pause the breath. Take a breath out. Okay, and just come back to normal with the breath. Okay, so I'm just going to repeat what I gave you in the talk practice in advance. So this is something you can do on here. You can do it in your own home, but I won't be doing this in the live class. So here we take a breath in through our nose, take a breath out through our nose, and once we've taken the breath out through our nose, we then bring in the belly, more active here, blow out through the lips to really try and empty the lungs a little bit more. We're just going to do that 3 times. So take a breath in, take a breath out, and now blow through. See if you get more air out as you take the belly in. Take a breath in, take a breath out, active breath out. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. Take an active breath out. And back to normal breath. Release the hands. So that might give you a little bit of a surge of energy. It might have made you go a little bit, oh, not sure what's going on here. If you're dizzy at all, then you just need to obviously just get back to a normal breath. It's fine. Just got rid of, taken got oxygen out of the lungs a bit more fully than we normally would. And that's a bit of a reset button. It's also a reminder of the strength in the abdomen, the support potentially for the back there, and just about feeling strong potentially as well, feeling an energy. Okay, so we, I've got another movement before we do a little bit more flow here. So we're going to take the arms up and into soft fist. We're going to create a bit of a back bend here, yeah. So it's kind of like this is the area I'm opening up. This is the area I'm opening up. Okay, so creating that opening, maybe looking up. And then bringing the elbows in and rounding the back and letting the chin come in, crown of the head come down, belly in. In breath, up and open. Out breath, round. It's a bit like cat-cow, getting round in the back, you're bringing the elbows in. In breath to open up and open out. Out breath, bring the belly in, round the back, elbows in towards the belly. In breath to open up. Out breath to close down. In breath to create that awakening, opening, expansion. Out breath to round the back. You might have got more skin to round to the tail under. And just back into neutral, open the fingers. Hi. Okay, shake out. Shake out. Shake out. Okay. Bring the knees up. A bit out to the side. Maybe a little bit across the body. Let's see how things are now. Okay. So I'm going to turn around, but because I'm working on my back. So basically, we're just taking our arms out to the side, palms facing forward initially. And then I'm going to turn one palm the opposite direction. And then I'm just going to kind of do this movement where it's a flow across the shoulders. So for some people that might feel like, oh, it's all really sticky. For other people it might be, oh yeah, I get that. Really find an easy flow. So I find it much more easier personally on my left side, my right side. So it's a slow movement, kind of an unraveling. Feel how that is for the shoulders, the muscles around the shoulders, the shoulder blades, the mid-back, as you find your own wave. And if it's just too strong, then obviously leave this out. Trying to find an easy way to explore. Now, when we do the wash rag twist, I'll come round, but carry on as we were. Yeah, if we do the wash rag twist on our back with the knees up and the feet on the floor, then sometimes we'll do this movement, but you won't feel it as animated as this on the floor. But sometimes we'll look over to the palm. So you can try that out. Slow it down. Slow it down. Slow it down. Okay, one or two more movements. And relax. Ooh, it's interesting. So just let's take the shoulders back, swinging back, stroke arms. It's quite a nice one too. Might feel a loosening now in the shoulders and the shoulder blades, front of the chest. And come back to your new neutral. Pelvis, rib cage, skull on top. All balanced as much as they can be. Okay, let's do a bit of flow then. So coming to the front of the ground. With your feet hip distance or even wider. Bring your palms together. So you can either bring the whole of your palm together, which is like a more traditional prayer, or you can bring the fingertips together and the heel of the hand. That's more a kind of yogic connection, if you like. It's the idea is this is a lotus flower, so you choose whether you want hands together or just fingertips and heel of the hand. Take the hand to front of the sternum, heart center. Just remind you again about that subtle lift in the sternum to get that sense of length. Okay, so from here, just slightly bend the knees and straighten. Slightly bend the knees to give weight to the ground, to give weight through the feet. And then what we're going to do is going to open up into Warrior Two. So when you're ready, you don't know what it is, just watch and then join me. Yeah, so we open up, we use the back arm, and we just come back. And then we go the opposite direction. Yeah, we open up. Use back leg, back arm to find ourselves back to the front. First side, use back arm, use back leg. Wait till you get stability through the front leg to get you there. So find your flow, it won't be perfect. You might not get into your perfect warrior. It's just a moment's transition. So just finding that flow. Finding stability in that front leg, because that front leg needs to be stable so you can mobilize. Stable so you can move. So next time when you're equal, just have to remind myself which side, then we're going to go to the first side, but stay in that position of Warrior Two, and we'll take a few movements from there. So opening out into Warrior Two. So basically, front knees bent broadly over the ankle, that kind of direction. Arms are center of energy going outwards. Belly might need to come in a bit to feel that support. Might need to feel the inner thighs come in. That's the uplift. Do a lot of that movement, but I know how important it is. Okay, so that'll give you a little bit of support to give that sense of alignment. Okay, so from here, initially, we'll just go into side angle. So front arm sits on the thigh to get the top arm over, to get a bit of length again down the side body. And you might find if you just stay here for a second, you get a little bit more length all the way from the heel, all the way up that leg, all the way through the pelvis, waist, side ribs, shoulder. And use that top arm to get yourself back. So let's try reverse. So reverse warrior, opposite hand down to wherever it comes, side leg, and then top arm comes over. So this time we're getting over on the other side of the body, which might be nice, might feel a little bit tight. Bring ourselves back up into Warrior Two. Okay, so we're just going to move back to the front now. So back to the front. Going to take our back arm and our back legs slightly bend. It's been here a while, so it's a bit more harder work. Need this leg to be strong and stable to give us the stability to step forward. so we can face forward. And I'm certainly going to go to the other side. You might feel like you want to stay where you are, just so we can open on our opposite side and still face each other. Okay, so from here, just get that connection again through the fingers, sense of length through the body. See how the legs feel a little bit more toned, a little bit more alive, inner thighs and outer thighs. Relax the shoulders. Create space for the neck. Take a breath. And then when you're ready, open out to your second side. Warrior two, front knee bent. Okay, and feel, so one way of feeling the legs a bit strong is almost like you're pushing the feet into the ground a little bit more. And that might start, okay, my legs are waking up and my belly's waking up and my butt's waking up a little bit. You don't want straining your lower back. So if all that's doing is just creating like a crunch in your lower back, then just take that down a few levels or completely leave that out. You have this sense of kind of drawing up through the center, then that gives you much more sense of strength, alignment. So this is warrior for a reason. Yeah, so there is an idea that we've got strength here. And even through the arms, you might feel your arms feel quite strong. Let's tip forward into side angle and lengthen through. So I'm going over a little bit further, just out of interest. And I might lower my hand down my leg. Temptation is to tip forward. Just try my best not to tip forward, just to keep that side angle. And bring that back up. Use that top arm. And going into reverse. It's interesting for me. Okay, it's tougher this side. To allow yourself to breathe and to just give space, if there can be space found, and not to kind of force or push, but just to notice, there is, for me, there's something going on here, and it's always going on there. I kind of very little ways from releasing that yet. I'm just not going to work on it. I'm trying not to force it. Okay, and back to wide arms. Soft shoulders, strong legs. So we're going to take the back arm to the front and the back leg to the front to reunite ourselves at the front of the mat. So take your energy forward and lengthen the front of your mat. Taking the breath, so just really softening. Expanding, so expanding with the in-breath, softening with the out-breath. Feeling the strength, maybe again in the legs, the real connection of the feet to the ground when we do these more, not necessarily challenging, but different positioning to give more stability, more strength for the legs. Okay, lovely. So, just like us to do a little bit on hands and knees, and then we'll do a little bit on our back. So we're not going to do too much on our hands and knees this week. So coming down, just adjust things so it's a little bit, makes a bit more sense visually, but you know where you are with this. So just arriving on all fours. So my temptation is to drop my head, I don't know about yours, but I want to try and keep the skull and the rib cage and pelvis in line. So I can do all sorts of strange things in all fours. I can end up dipping my belly, which is not what I would normally do, but it's the gravity thing. So I have to have a sense of the belly just giving me enough support so that the pelvis is creating just that natural arch for the lower back. collapsing also in my rib cage, and that's just coming in enough to have that alignment, that support, and that my neck is long. I can have a sense of the whole spine. Okay, so let's just rock the bottom from side to side, hip from side to side to release in that area. So although, I said I'm quite tight here, this rocking from side to side is pretty good because I don't feel anything, I don't feel any difficulty doing that. So this one I know is going to be pleasant for me, even though I am getting an opening down that side. So this is a good one for me. Okay, so rock from side to side. Okay, so we're going to concentrate again on this central area. So we've done these bigger movements in standing, but I want to see how things go for people, for me as well, while we're on all fours. So it's this idea that we create, like the hula hoop is around our diaphragm, just below or around the area of the lower, the rib cage, lower rib cage, and we kind of, okay, can we, in slow motion, create at this point I'm rounding my back, and I'm going over to my right, and then I'm dropping the rib cage down a little bit. So I will be getting an arch in my lower back and coming to the side, sticking out at the side a bit. I can feel that, almost like I feel the diaphragm in the side body, and then I go back up. And then I can go a little bit faster if I want to. And I'm trying to find a smooth circuit to just open in that area again. And although they might feel like there's been a softening in the elbows when we bring the cells into slight arch back, we're not really bending the elbows, we're keeping them as arms as straight as we can. There'll be a little bit of release, but broadly speaking, they remain straight. So really enjoying as much as you can as opening around the centre body, releasing the diaphragm, hula hooping your way around. So we're going to need to go the other direction just to kind of balance that out. So at some point, do it down, opposite side. So it's like a cat-cow, but you're moving the body to the side. Yeah, if that helps, makes sense. I realise I'm not keeping the arms straight on the second side. So you can't dip as far as you'd like to because your arms are straight. Just discomfort come out of it. Just ordinary cat-cows would be nice. You might be finding you get a little bit more space as you do this. You might find, it's just not your thing today or ever. Maybe it's just not suiting you. Okay, and then let's just sit back. And if it's comfortable, which won't be for everybody, then you can see if the forehead will come down and release the arms to the side. Option here, you could bring the toes together and the knees out a little bit, if that feels nice and greater release. So if your bottom's all the way up here, if that's still okay, that's fine. If not, just come onto your back and bring your knees into your chest. So that might be more pleasant release for the lower back. And whichever you're doing, just breathing a little bit more deeply into the lower back if you can. Enjoying the support and release for the head, to have that contact point with the ground, releasing the shoulders. So 3 more breaths, deeper breaths if they come in to you. If they're not, then just keep it a natural breath, no force. And then bringing the hands underneath the shoulders to get yourself up. I'm going to go onto our backs. So some of you might already be there, otherwise coming onto your back. But there will be a point in which I need to show you what's going on, so just be aware that you are going to be rolling over to one side at one point. Just keep an eye on the demonstration. Okay, so, but the first one I think is first two are fairly clear, I think. So coming down, feet on the floor and the knees bent, but let the shoulders relax down, let the arms be heavy, let the back of the head extend. So if you need to lift it up and just remind it to extend, then that's fine. And just see how the back's landing here. You've got the whole of the rib cage down. What's the space underneath the lower back, if any? Can you breathe into the belly to just give that expansion on the in breath and that return on the out breath. Slightly softening the belly in towards the spine on the out breath. Okay. So just arriving and settling so you know the weight of the ground's there. You can release and let go certain parts of the body, but the legs will still be feeling a bit active. Hopefully you feel your toes all touching the floor and your feet fairly solidly having that connection with the ground. Do a lot of work with the legs, so the legs hopefully feel toned and alive and strong without being overworked. Okay, so we're going to bring the right knee in towards the chest and we're going to take the hands behind the thigh, behind the thigh. That's saying that twice. I'm saying it twice because we have to take our hand to the shins, but we want to take it to the back of the thigh here. Okay, so taking the sole of the foot more towards the ceiling. So we lengthen out to the back of the hamstring, so you might need to give a little bit more pressure onto the hamstrings to just lengthen and have that resistance, and then bend the knee to bring the knee back to the chest, to soften the back of the thigh. And then extend again. So for me, this is always interesting. My hamstrings are an issue for me after an injury many years ago. So I just want to see, can I lengthen and can I give the restraint from the hands pressing against the hamstrings to support me lengthening, but I don't have to lengthen. It's that strong. Yeah. So some of you, your hamstrings will be kind of like really flexible, long, and this will feel like nothing going on. Yeah. So for some people it will feel like it's a real strong maneuver, and for other people it'll feel like I can't feel anything. So just being aware that this might be doing nothing for those of you that haven't got hamstring issues. Okay. But we are working with the hamstrings for those that need it. So releasing that leg down. Just see how that feels when it sits back down on the ground. And then go for a second thigh. Hands underneath the back of the thigh as you bring the knee towards you. And then extending the sole of the foot towards the ceiling. See what's going on there for the hamstrings. Press the hands into the hamstrings to lengthen. As long as, again, that doesn't give you any kind of sciatic pain. If it does, then you need to either not do it at all or just pull back if you like. So, lengthening the space, using the hands to press into the thigh if that needs to happen. Say some of you haven't got that issue at all. So, it's just lengthening for others. Without any kind of sense of the hamstrings doing anything. So just forward and back another 3 times. We're just doing this for people who need it. For the rest of you, it's just a sense of lengthening a little bit. A different position. So no noticing for shaking. Sometimes when you pull back a little bit, create that restraint, then the shakiness gets limited. For those of us with tight hamstrings. Okay, and just see how pelvis is now, the weight of the pelvis, how it feels at the back of the hamstrings. Where else released in the body, maybe, maybe not. Okay, so we're going to create our robot arms, which just means we bend at the elbows, fingers pointed towards the ceiling. And although we don't want to bring the elbows so tightly in that we feel restricted, we do need the support. So it really does vary, I've realised, for lots of different people. So you usually need a bit of a gap, to be honest, between your upper arms, your elbows and your side body, but you don't want to be really out here because you've got no support. And find the area that you've got support without closing yourself in your shoulders. Okay, so just see where you start and whether you find it useful. You can always change them. So again, feet, you want to know that your heels are going to be broadly above your knees when you come up into bridge. I can tell you that. Okay, so we're heading up into bridge. And we're just kind of doing it in one movement rather than the arching and the rolling like we did last time. So starting to get the shoulders going down, activating the upper arms, activating the feet and the legs. And from there, just lifting up the pelvis and lengthening the knees away. Getting the support of the arms and the shoulders. And then lowering yourself down. Relaxing the back. So 2 more times, using the feet, getting the legs strong so the knees don't drift out, knees don't drift in, knees stay stable, legs stay stable, upper arms activate, shoulders activate, and then lift up the pelvis. Use the arms to lengthen through the back, but feel like you're lengthening the knees away from you, so you're lengthening through the back rather than creating a tension in the back. And lower down, and relaxing down, and relaxing back, and leaving the hands where they are for the third go. So let them all work in the arms, the feet, the legs, and then pick the pelvis up to wherever feels safe for your lower back. Use the arms more, maybe, to open through the chest. You don't have to pick the pelvis up that high if you don't feel comfortable with that, but you can still pick the upper back up and come all the way down. Bring your knees into your chest, just roll from side to side or on level circles. One way and then the other way. Okay. So if you just roll over now to your sides, just have a look at the option, yeah, so if you've been to class already, then you know what the option is. If you haven't, then you just need to give a little bit of attention to see whether this is what you want to do. Okay. So the option is to go up into a shoulder stand. Now, shoulder stands for necks can put strain, so we want to make sure we haven't got a strain. We haven't got any equipment, so equipment can help sort that out. So given we haven't got equipment, the way I'm suggesting you do this is, again, you're getting your elbows into robot position, bring your knees forward to rock yourself up. So I've got my thumbs really round the front of my pelvis. I'm keeping my knees bent. But basically I need to know that I can move my head safely and that I've got a long neck rather than any pressure here. So you can take once you're up, you can take your feet further forward. So what I'm not doing is I'm not bringing my hips forward over my shoulders. I'm keeping the weight down, and that will keep the openness and safety for the shoulders and the neck. So once you're up, you can just play around. So I'm taking my feet wide. Take my feet together into frog's legs position. Could move betwixt and between. I might want to move my pelvis a little bit. That might not not suit everybody. Okay, so I'm going to come down. Okay, so you get an idea. So that's what you could do if you want to do it. If you don't want to do it, then you go back to bridge and you can do either the robot arms version or you can do the soft arm version and just come up with the rolling bridge where you do the arch, then the flatten, and then the coming up and the rolling down. A bit quicker than I normally would. So for those of you that have decided, no, I want to give this turning the body upside down idea a go, you can come down at any point, but obviously taking care of issues for the neck or the back of the shoulders at all, then you need to come gently out of it. If you have glaucoma, any issues around the eyes, then this is not good, so don't do it. Okay. So when you're ready, kind of robot arms to rock yourself up to just get the back of your pelvis supported, knees are bent, weight comes through into your hands. So if the weight's going out of the hands, then you need to take them further back, rather than pushing your hips to your shoulder level. Lengthen your legs a little bit here, see what that feels like. Keep the breath soft but present. And take the legs a little bit wider if that feels like that weight is okay. Create frog's legs. Take your legs out. Do a little bit of movement maybe, but that's being more delicate for lower back, lower spine, so not if you've got spinal issues at all. And then knees together. Weight through the pelvis. Okay, and we're going to release ourselves down. And relax down. And extend the legs away. So you can just lie here and relax and give the weight to the ground. Or you can bring the knees back up and do one of the twists to loosen the side body. It's quite nice. Either with the arms by the side of you or arms out shoulder level. Yeah, so I'm trying to give people a little bit more option so that you can explore what might suit you. So you might want to just be still, or you might want to just have a little bit more opening for the side body. If you don't know, do the opening for the side body if you're not sure. But if you know that actually you've lengthened your legs and actually you just want to stay there, then respect that. So just lying down or having a few more twists. If you're lying down, then just really having a sense of the back body. See if you can feel the breath in the back body from the shoulders down. If you're still doing the twist, then maybe one more each side and then coming into this position to lengthen the legs out if that's comfortable. Not feet on the floor, knees bent. So I'm going to assume you're all back onto your back now. But feeling the back of the skull, the weight of the back of the skull, and just allow the head to rock from side to side really gently. So it's not a big rock, you're really feeling the weight in the back of the head. And you might go a short distance and then you might slightly increase it over time just to loosen the neck and the jaw. Softening the eyes and the eye sockets. Softening in the cheeks. to center to rest. Just feeling where the shoulders are landing on the floor. Shoulders, the shoulder blades. Relax the muscles around the back, upper back, softening. Feeling the weight of the arms on the floor. Softening the palms, the fingers, feeling the space in the joints of the fingers. Taking attention to the whole of the back of the rib cage now. Weight through the rib cage, feeling the breath in the rib cage, particularly the back of the rib cage. And then feeling the weight in the pelvis. In the length of the legs, softness in the toes, soles of the feet. So softness and spacious in the ankles, behind the knee, hip joints, wrists, elbows, shoulders. And then just in the last few moments, just really feeling the breath, or imagining the breath, creating ease and length in the back. So you could have the in-breath coming up the inside of the spine in your imagination, or you felt sense of the breath. And the out-breath coming down the back of the spine. It's like a breeze, gentle energy circulating around the spine. Lengthening it naturally, softly, just through expansion, subtle expansion and movement of the breath. Revitalizing the spine with each breath, energizing with each breath. You can sigh if you want to sigh. And then just to waken up the body again, to transition, bringing the knees back into the chest, hands onto the knees. And again, circles, back, breath be free, circling the opposite way. And rolling onto your side to finish your practice there. Okay, so that's our 6-week series on healthy backs, happy backs. So take from it what you will, what suits you, and explore. That's the kind of thing that most of us just need to keep going back to, the back, freedom in the back, whether it's muscles, whether it's upper back, whether it's shoulders, whether it's lower back issues, whether it's issues to do when we're running, issues to do when we're sitting. And just trying to get ourselves into a much more easeful place for the back by playing around with different movements, different exercises to just release and support us. So thanks for coming, and hopefully you'll join me for the next series. So yeah, thanks for joining me, and happy backs, happy running, safe and healthy times for you all. So I'll finish there. Thank you.